Hey guys, this is Jake from State Fun. You're going to want to stick around for this video because we're going to be pulling the body of the house car off and test fitting it on the frame of the Dodge. So the plan is we're going to take the bumpers off, get the bed loose, and we'll go up and we'll start working on the front end and get as much stuff up there as we can loose. We'll go ahead and take it off and get it out, get it stored out of the way. And then we're gonna lift this bed up off of the frame, pull the house car out from underneath it, and then put back the Dodge up under the bed. We'll set it down on there and then we'll work on the cab, getting it off of the house car and onto the Dodge. That'll allow us to, one, see what kind of spacing we might need on the bed in the front half to make it level. And then two, once we have the bed level, that'll tell us what height the cab needs to sit at so that our body lines are straight. Let's get to it. This is the only wire I have to disconnect. It's for the license plate light, and that's attached to the bumper. That's the only one that goes to the bumper though, so after disconnecting that, I can get this bumper off. We'll disconnect these. That goes to all the taillight, turn signals and stuff. Now we'll get started on the bolts holding the bumper on. As you can see, we got the bed moved over. I had to enlist some help to be able to pick it up, walk it over, and set it down on the other frame. But now we're going to start working on getting the cab loose. Taking the bolts loose, getting the brake lines loose, clutch, everything that connects between the cab and the frame. And then I think we'll be ready to try and pick it up. Hi guys, so I've got to get the shifter disconnected. I was looking at it a little bit. I saw it has these little roll pins here on each side. I was like, you know, I bet you that's not what holds it in. So I looked it up on a YouTube video. First thing the guy says is, don't smack that roll pin. And he says that to get this off, this is an SM420, by the way. It's same thing on an SM465. But to get this off, this little spring-loaded metal holder there, or that metal holder is spring-loaded. Supposedly, you push it down and turn it an 1/8 of a turn, and then he lifted the whole stinking thing out. Oh, there we go. Woo! Holy crap, that lifts out easy when it's done. What the heck? That's one strong spring. Dang if it don't work. Well, Emily and I were able to get the front end pulled off of the frame, and as you can see, we got the cab raised up in the air. So we're gonna go ahead and swap the frame out. Oh wait, we already did. Look at this. It's a freaking Cummins frame under the house car. Oh, that was fun. That went well. That went surprisingly well. I like that. Very happy with that. Go ahead and hit the like button if you're happy with that process too, how well it went. Now we just got to get the frame positioned correctly and then slowly let this cab down and see if we can figure out where it's supposed to sit. Let's get to it. So the shifter down in there does not quite line up with the hole that's already in the floor, but it looks like this cover has a couple bolts, and that whole tunnel will probably come up. So we'll try and get those bolts loosened up and pull that tunnel out, and then I won't have to worry about it. And I can cut my hole later once the cab is in position. Bang! Those screws that I can't get out of the pedal are actually attached. Well, I guess I'll drill these pop rivets out and take this beat up tunnel cover off. That's what the hole looks like. I'll probably end up just covering it over with some sheet metal just like the old guy did. It seemed to work just fine, so why not? So as you can see, we've got the front end reattached to the cab. Now I am obviously just test fitting this, so I've got some boards sitting under the front to make it to where it's leveled out so that this body line here looks okay. The cab is just sitting on boards about where I think it's probably going to have to sit. We'll know a little bit more once we get the bed test fit, because the bed sits on the frame back here, so we can't set it any lower than that frame. So wherever it lines up is where we're going to have to hopefully not raise anymore. But that's where we're going to have to set the cab and the front end at, height wise. If it ends up at this height, I'm going to be pretty happy with that. Now this front wheel is a little bit far back in the wheel well. Could figure out another way to do the radiator, but I mean, this fits pretty good on the back side between the motor in the firewall. I had to do a little bit of massaging over here for the exhaust housing. And the heater core there that I bent out of the way, that's actually going to get replaced with a vintage air unit. And the vintage air has heater core outlets and air conditioning outlets coming out of this panel here. So I'm not worried about the placement of that right there. Next step is test fitting the bed. Probably see if I can call a few people over to help me out with that. Well, as you can see, we got the bed set in place. Problem is, there's one heck of a gap there. The rear wheel is kind of centered up in the wheel well pretty good, so that's about where the bed should sit. The front wheel is way too far back, so I need to scoot the cab and the fenders back to meet up with the bed. Problem is, I don't really have a whole lot of room to play with up here, especially if I want to add a fan to that radiator. So for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the radiator out. We're going to pick the cab and the front end up, and then we'll scoot the frame forward and then set it down and see if we can figure out what looks best. And from there, I'll have to decide whether to move the engine and transmission backwards or figure out a custom radiator that'll fit somewhere up there. Kind of running out of real estate, but we'll get it done. We'll figure it out. Well, guys, look at that. Ain't she looking good? Got the wheels looking good in the front wheel well. Got the rear wheel looking good in that wheel well. Got that gap looking good. Man, everything looks... Oh. Well, we'll worry about that later. Overall, very happy with the progress that was made this weekend. I'm actually kind of surprised at how well it looks on there. I was afraid it was going to look a little bit janky, but I'm happy. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, because the next video on this is actually going to be custom fabricating some mounts for the cab and the bed. And then a video sometime after that will be probably a first start once we get all the little odds and ends figured out. If you like the video, make sure to hit the thumbs up down below. Y'all have a good one.